Welcome to episode 3 of the Pro Wrestling Podcast with Lee Burt. I am your host, Lee Burt. It's a cold Tuesday morning, so I can think of nothing I'd rather be doing than having a nice caramel latte and talking to you guys about all the craziness that has happened this week in the world of professional wrestling. I want to start out today by giving a shout out to NWA Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and specifically my buddy who is the director of Chaos up there, Mr. James Judas Pope, also known as Judas the Mad Hatter. They're based in northern Tennessee, and if you guys haven't checked them out yet, you should do that. Their next big event is going to be Thursday, February 12th at 7 p.m. local time at the Kingsport Civic Auditorium in Kingsport, Tennessee. If you guys want to find out some more information on that, you can check them out on Facebook at facebook.com/NWA SmokyMTN. That's facebook.com/NWA SmokyMTN. You can also catch them on YouTube at youtube.com/user/NWA SmokyMTN. That's youtube.com/user/NWA SmokyMTN. They're up for several awards in a contest put on by smartmarkradio.com. You can vote in that contest by doing a Facebook search for 2014 SMR Fans Choice Awards. There's plenty of categories you can vote on, such as the Best Independent Professional Wrestling Promotion of the Year and the Gentleman Jim Chadwick Award for Independent Wrestling Manager/Valet of the Year. So go show some love to NWA Smoky Mountain Wrestling and my buddy James Judas Pope. Voting ends at 3 a.m. Eastern Time on March 1st, 2015. Let's go ahead and jump right into what everyone's been talking about this week, which is the 2015 Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Let's go ahead and go over the positives first. That triple threat match was epic. It's already standing out as a possible match of the year candidate. There was so much hype leading into this event about this match, and it did not fail to deliver. I thought it did a great job of getting all three guys over, and I think it would have been believable no matter who won the match. That being said, I was hoping Rollins would win by picking up a pinfall over John Cena. That way you get the championship off of Brock Lesnar, and you don't hurt him by doing that. And it's not going to hurt John Cena because he's Super Cena, and nothing can hurt Super Cena. Super Cena is the top guy, the face of the WWE. One thing that I think made this match so great was that it was unpredictable. You could make a case that any of those three guys deserves the championship going into WrestleMania. In the end, they decided to keep the championship on Brock Lesnar for now, which I'm okay with. The only thing that might create a problem is they booked him so strong in that match that I don't see how anyone in a one-on-one match is going to beat him for that championship. I mean, Brock took like 1,000 finishes in that match, plus he went through a table. He has broke ribs, and he still comes back, throws out some German suplexes, gets the F5 on Seth Rollins, and wins. So who's going to stop Brock Lesnar? We're about to get into who management thinks that guy is, but that's a whole other can of worms. Before I spoil all the fun just yet, though, let's talk about the Royal Rumble match itself. The most notable thing in the opening moments of the Royal Rumble was that the number 3 entrant was Bubba Ray Dudley. He got a huge pop when he came out. Fans were really excited to see him back in the WWE. The only thing I think WWE really missed the ball on was that they booked him in that match like a mid-card Bubba Ray Dudley from the Dudley Boys, and it kind of discounted his entire run at TNA when he was Bully Ray, on top, main event, champion, did some really great work for TNA, and I felt like coming back just as Bubba Ray Dudley to just get thrown out of the Royal Rumble, after a few minutes, it kind of discounted all that. Bubba Ray would not be the only guy to make a return in the Royal Rumble. It was really great to see the Boogeyman come back and have an epic stare down with Bray Wyatt. That was a great little piece of business. I really enjoyed that. Boogeyman has always been one of my favorites just because he's hilarious. It was also good to see Diamond Dallas Page be a surprise entrant into the Rumble. He pretty much hit diamond cutters on everyone in the ring. So that was cool. If you want to talk about surprises, I'm really surprised at who wasn't in the match. I thought for sure they would bring back Randy Orton at the Royal Rumble and go ahead and start building him up a program for WrestleMania. I guess they're going to hold that off just a little bit longer. I may be getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but how about Curtis Axel not even making it to the Royal Rumble match? He was attacked by Eric Rowan and didn't even make it inside the ring. Eric Rowan wasn't supposed to be in the Royal Rumble. He didn't win his match on SmackDown. Curtis Axel was never eliminated. Fans really drove that point home too. Could it be possible that Curtis Axel could find himself in a triple threat match with Brock Lesnar and the winner of the Royal Rumble for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania? No, that's not possible at all. But it is funny to troll people over. Let's just go ahead and get right to the first thing about the Royal Rumble that the fans really hated and let the WWE know about. Daniel Bryan comes out number 10. He's the number 10 entrant into the Royal Rumble. Huge pop. Everybody loves Daniel Bryan. One of the favorites on hand to win the whole thing. Unfortunately, Daniel wasn't in the match very long. He got a few spots in and then was thrown over the top rope by Rusev. He hits Rusev to keep Rusev from knocking him out, but then Bray Wyatt comes and punches Daniel Bryan, and he's eliminated, just like a mid-card guy. There was no rhyme or reason to it. There was no big build-up. It was just an elimination. Happened way too easily, way too early, and the fans were livid. Boos everywhere. Not happy. And that was the first mistake WWE would make in this Royal Rumble. With Daniel Bryan eliminated from the Royal Rumble, it really didn't take a rocket scientist to know who was going to win the thing. Let's just fast forward to the final few minutes of the match. Dolph Ziggler was number 30. He got a good pop. I think one thing that the fans really didn't like was the fact that all of their favorite guys kind of got squashed in the match. They just really didn't stay in very long. They were eliminated very quickly. Dolph jumps off the top rope. Big Show KO punches him, dumps him over the top rope, like a sack of potatoes. Dean Ambrose, kind of the same thing. Wasn't in there too long. Didn't really get to shine. We get to the end of the match, and it basically boils down to Roman Reigns in the ring with the Big Show and Kane. The Big Show and Kane are trying to double team Roman Reigns, get him out of there, but then they can't seem to get along, and they start pushing each other, choking each other, leaning up against the top ropes. This would make it easy for Roman Reigns to throw both of those guys out, and then the bell rings. But Rusev was never eliminated. Rusev was outside, hiding. Not the first time we've seen that. But the bell rings. Roman Reigns is the winner. Everybody hates it. Can't stand it. It wasn't like Roman Reigns had to work for it. He didn't have to come from behind. He didn't have to make a comeback. It just really seemed like they just gave it to him, like he was entitled to win it. And I think that's one reason that the fans really hated it. They're booing. They're cheering for Rusev. Okay, you've got a guy that hates America, big Russian heel. They're cheering for him over Roman Reigns. You didn't book it right. Anyway, some people figure the match is over. But then The Rock's music hits. Huge pop. Everybody loves The Rock, right? He comes down to the ring. Everybody's wondering what's going to happen. Everybody thought this might save the Royal Rumble. Maybe we judged it too early. The Rock comes down, beats up Big Show and Kane, gets them off of Roman Reigns. And then The Rock starts celebrating with Roman Reigns, and the crowd is booing again. They're booing The Rock because he raised Roman Reigns' hand. Just terrible. They thought that The Rock out there would give Roman Reigns the rub to get over with the crowd in Philadelphia because they probably figured it was going to be a debacle. Finally, we see Rusev get up and slide into the ring, and everybody's getting a little bit excited, like, okay, maybe again we judged too soon. Maybe Rusev's going to chunk Roman Reigns over the top, and it's going to be a big, strong Russian heel Rusev undefeated against Brock Lesnar for the title as a babyface at WrestleMania. But no, Rusev gets in the ring, he gets speared, he gets chunked out like he's Zack Ryder. No offense to Zack Ryder. You've just eliminated a heel that you've been pushing so strongly in about 10 seconds. It did nothing for Rusev. You've essentially just stabbed the WWE Universe in the back, 4 or 5 times? You got rid of Daniel Bryan right in the middle of the match. You chunked out Ziggler and Ambrose like they meant nothing. Rusev's laying outside. Roman Reigns wins the thing. Boo. The Rock comes out. Yay. The Rock holds up Roman Reigns' hand. Boo. Rusev comes back in. Yay. Rusev gets chunked out like he's a mid-carder. Boo. It was just terrible. The Rock looked really uncomfortable being out there. He knew that it was going south. He knew that segment was sucking, and there was really nothing he could do about it. And he's The Rock. He never gets caught off guard like that. Anyway, that's the way the Royal Rumble went off the air, and it didn't take long after that for Cancel WWE Network to be the #1 trend on Twitter. That's a whole huge story in itself. It went up right after the Rumble, #Cancel WWE Network. It stayed up for like 24 hours. At times it was the #1 trend worldwide. How many people do you have to make angry at the way you booked your main event for Cancel WWE Network to be the #1 trend worldwide and for it to last for 24 hours through the next night? It's insane. WWE's luck wasn't going to get any better though, because the next night they were booked to do Raw in Connecticut, and there's a blizzard coming through in Connecticut, so they had to cancel the show. There was no Monday Night Raw. There was, but there wasn't. The governor declared a state of emergency, which went into effect 1 hour after Raw was supposed to take the air, so it would have just been an empty arena. All the guys are like stranded up there. Some of them maybe got out. They decided just to do a live studio show, kind of a recap. I mean, that's really all they could do. I don't fault them for that. They decided to air the triple threat match between Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, and John Cena in its entirety live on Monday Night Raw. And I thought that was a really good idea, maybe get some of the heat away from the bad finish, show them an epic triple threat match, maybe get back in everyone's good graces. Of course, there were some fans that were even mad about that, because you either pay $9.99 on WWE Network to see the Royal Rumble, or, and if you don't have the WWE Network, then it's like, I think $54.99. If you pay $55 to see an event, and then they air it the next night free, yeah, I think I'd be mad too. Anyway, then WWE would do something that really perplexed me, that really just didn't make any sense to me at all. They aired the Royal Rumble match in its entirety also. And I'm just sitting there watching that, thinking, okay, last night you booked a match that the entire crowd booed. You got Cancel WWE Network as the #1 trend on Twitter for like a 24-hour period. Not #1, but it was trending on Twitter for 24 hours. And now you're going to air the match that caused all of that chaos to happen? I don't get it. Were they just trying to rub salt in the wound? They had to know that that was just going to make people even more angry. Maybe they thought it was only the smart marks that have the network and everything that were angry about the finish. Maybe they thought the casual viewer that only tunes in for Monday Night Raw would love the fact that Roman Reigns won and how he won. Maybe they thought they would get a different reaction. It was just kind of like reliving the travesty all over again. They did have some in-studio sit-down interviews, which I thought went off pretty well. Roman Reigns had an interview, and a lot of people didn't like it. I thought it went as good as it could, considering the circumstances. I just really think they're pushing him too hard, trying to make him the next John Cena. I don't really think Roman Reigns has the right look to be the next guy that really gets over with the kids. To me, he looks more like just a machine, somebody that you just want to go in there and pound people, not someone you want to see cut funny, comical promos. It's just not who he is to me. When Raw went off the air, Paul Heyman interviewed Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar sitting face to face. And Paul Heyman did as good of a job as he could to try to build this match and get it over. If this match works, it's going to be in large part to Paul Heyman because he is a genius. He knows exactly what he's doing because realistically, you have two guys in the main event of WrestleMania and neither of them are a great promo. I think if Vince McMahon has it in his heart that this is what he's going to go with, no matter what the crowd reaction is, then Brock and Roman Reigns just really need to sit down and figure out this match they're going to have at WrestleMania because everybody is expecting it to fail, and they need to put something together to where they can do it in their sleep. If you thought the Royal Rumble was a debacle, if they fail at WrestleMania in the main event, things are going to get crazy. We're going to have a live event Thursday on the Sci-Fi Network, which I'm not even sure if it's going to be branded as Raw or branded as SmackDown, but basically it's just a live show that I'm guessing will try to tie up some loose ends since they didn't get to do anything really this Monday because of the weather. Hopefully we'll know by next week more of the direction they're going to take with this. It was also announced on the show that at Fastlane, John Cena is going to be in a match with Rusev. Figured they would probably hold that off to WrestleMania, unless they're going to do the typical thing to where probably Rusev wins somehow at Fastlane, and then they have a rematch at WrestleMania and John Cena wins, which to me, John Cena beating Rusev for the first time, all it does is hurt Rusev. It doesn't get John Cena any more over. I really wish that back months ago they would have let Jack Swagger be the one to defeat Rusev. That would have gave him a little boost of momentum that he desperately needs. We'll talk more about all this right here on the Pro Wrestling Podcast as the storylines tend to develop. One thing I really enjoyed last night, since I didn't #cancel WWE Network, was the WWE 24 program that aired immediately following Raw. It was a 30-minute program focused around the backstage things that happened around WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans, which I was actually down there for. It was a great, fascinating program, and I really can't recommend that you watch this enough. But if you do, it would probably be a smart idea to have a box of tissue with you because there's some really emotional, heart-wrenching stuff in that 30-minute episode. Just take my word for it. Great 30-minute episode, WWE 24, available exclusively on WWE Network for the low price of $9.99. Whew. Okay, now that we've got all that out of the way, I guess we can talk about some other wrestling promotions for a little bit. Let's talk about Lucha Underground. The first match this week would feature Cortez, Castro, and Cisco against Pimpinella and Mascarita. Pimpinella is an Exotico wrestler, if you guys haven't watched before, which basically means that he dresses in drag to wrestle. And Mascarita is a mini wrestler. So this match would start out, pretty good match back and forth. Big Rick, who used to wrestle as Ezekiel Jackson in WWE, is sitting on the staircase, smoking a cigar, watching the match. We get to a point where Pimpinella and Mr. Cisco are in the ring wrestling, and Pimpinella kisses Mr. Cisco, and he powders out of the ring. And I think that's the first time I can recall a wrestler taking a powder from a kiss from another male in a wrestling promotion. Could be wrong. If I am, leave a comment, tell me about it. Now that I think about it, that has to have happened in some Goldust matches over the years, right? Anyway, Cortez and Cisco pick up the upper hand, and they win the match. And then Big Rick gets in the ring and cuts a promo saying that he's going after the championship, no matter who he has to face to get the championship. And that would lead to Cortez, Cisco, and Bell attacking Big Rick. They would beat him up, hit him with a kendo stick, and eventually Cisco would take the cigar that Big Rick was smoking and put it in Big Rick's eye, and that had to have hurt, right? I definitely wouldn't want anyone putting out a cigar in my eye. Later we see that Cisco, Bell, and Cortez have made a deal with Dario Cueto, and he pays them money, and apparently they're going to be his protection. We had a pretty good interview this week with Vampiro and the new guy Cage, and I thought it was very well presented, made Cage look like a machine, which is exactly what he claims to be, and he pretty much says that he has no respect for anyone, and even though he's only been there 1 week, that the belt belongs to him because he's better than everybody else. Time will tell. I'm sure he will eventually get his shot against Prince Puma, and then we'll see. We then had a match between Superfly and Pentagon Jr., and I thought it was an alright match. Pentagon Jr. picked up the win and then would proceed to cut a promo in Spanish. Thank God for subtitles, so I actually got to see what he was saying. I would be completely lost if I attended a live Lucha Underground event, unless they have something similar to the Titantron where they could put the subtitles up there and I could follow along kind of like karaoke, and then that might work. We got to see Sexy Star compete this week against El Mariachi Loco in an intergender match, which is still taking me some getting used to see guys wrestling girls, but sometimes I get lost in the match and I really don't even realize that it's a girl in there wrestling. It's not like your typical Divas wrestling. She was taking some pretty heavy chops right to the chest. Could potentially pop some implants that way, who knows. Sexy Star picks up the win in this match. The main event this week was the Last Luchador Standing, which is the same thing as the Last Man Standing, match between King Cuerno and Drago. These two have really been at each other over the past several weeks, so this was supposed to be the match to settle it all. But will it be? I don't think so. Not after the way it ended. The only thing that kind of hit me wrong about this match was that most of the other matches are very quick-paced, fast action, not a lot of selling, actually. And, the guys will get up after taking a bump in seconds, and be ready for the next spot. In this match, though, the very first bump that King Cuerno took on the outside of the ring, he stayed down for an 8 count, which I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but there's just almost too much contrast between the fast-paced matches and then actually slowing down like this to sell the maneuver. And in all actuality, things should probably be a little slower. You've got to sell the moves. Anyway, there was an awesome table spot toward the end of this match where King Cuerno did his finish through the table with Drago. That could have been the end of the match and I would have been okay with that, but that wasn't the end of the match because King Cuerno would throw Drago back into the ring, beat him down a little bit more, and then take some rope and tie him up in the turnbuckle in the corner to make sure that he couldn't stand up for the 10 count. So King Cuerno wins this one. But is it the end of the rivalry? I don't think so. Not by a long shot. I'm still loving what Lucha Underground is offering from week to week, and if you haven't checked it out yet, I urge you to do so. Take your TV remote on Wednesday nights, click over to WREW Network, and check out Lucha Underground. I think you guys will really like it. It's just a 1-hour program with some really fast-paced, action-packed wrestling. Let's run down Ring of Honor. In the opening match, we had Cedric Alexander against Frankie Kazarian. Good match. Frankie Kazarian picked up the win. Then we had a match in the Top Prospect Tournament featuring Donovan Dijak against Jake Durden, and Donovan Dijak picked up the win in that match. We got to see Kevin Kelly interview Alberto Del Rio, now known as Alberto El Patron. I thought it was a great promo, and you could tell that Alberto was fired up and glad to be in Ring of Honor, and took a couple little jabs at WWE. He's not a sports entertainer, he's a professional wrestler. Truth Martini and Jay Lethal would come out and interrupt Alberto's promo when Alberto said that he was focused on having a match with Jay Briscoe and winning the Ring of Honor Heavyweight Championship. They thought that the TV title was more important and that Jay Lethal is the best wrestler in Ring of Honor. We would then have the main event featuring Matt Taven against Jay Briscoe for the Ring of Honor Championship. Jay Briscoe would win that match. That was definitely the best match of the night. After the match, Jay Briscoe was attacked, so Mark Briscoe came down and ran them off and said that next episode we will have a match between Mark and Jay Briscoe and the Kingdom. Also to look forward to on the next episode, we'll have Alberto El Patron against Christopher Daniels in the main event, and that should be a really great, entertaining match. This week, for the WWE Network Match of the Week, I'd like you guys to check out WrestleMania 6, Hulk Hogan against the Ultimate Warrior, champion versus champion. Hogan was the World Heavyweight Champion, the Ultimate Warrior was the Intercontinental Champion, and this was one of my favorite matches from my childhood. I was a huge Ultimate Warrior mark growing up. It was really great to see him go into the Hall of Fame last year right before his untimely passing. That's about all the time we have today on the Pro Wrestling Podcast with Lee Burt. I'd like to invite you to subscribe at the link below. I need some YouTube subscribers, people. It only takes a few seconds to click on that subscribe button. Check out our official Facebook page, www.facebook.com/The Pro Wrestling Podcast. Leave some questions or comments for me. Let's make this thing as interactive as possible. I hope you all have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you again next week on the Pro Wrestling Podcast.